Over the past few decades, Western concert music has been drawing new vitality from Asia in terms of performers and audience. For the most part, it's a matter of East embracing the West, but we're beginning to see more reciprocation. And one example is an opera commissioned by arts organizations in China and Boston. The opera is based on Chinese mythology, and it's called Madame White Snake. The commission is by Opera Boston and the Beijing Music Festival. We'd like to welcome as our guest the creator of the libretto for the opera, Cerise Lim Jacobs. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Chris.
In this introduction, I talked about the performer and audience dynamic around music. How do you want this opera project to change that?
I think that this opera project functions on many levels. First, of course, is the fact that it is based on a 1,000-year-old Chinese myth, and as with all mythology, it has been honed through many centuries, so it conveys the sort of essence of the story, and I think that communicates really directly to all audiences. And the second level, the multiculturalism of the project, I think makes it special in the sense that living in America, which is the melting pot, and with minority Asian community and a majority Western community, I think there is a chance to build a lot of bridges, to educate and to reinstill a sense of pride in the Asian community.
You said this is a Chinese legend, but it has elements that might be very familiar to people in the West, whether it's the opera Russalka by Dvorak or Walt Disney's Little Mermaid.
Exactly. I'm glad you brought that up, Chris, because in fact, other people have pointed out that it is so much like The Little Mermaid, but with a tragic ending because it's not Walt Disney. And yes, in fact, that it resonates, I think, because like with all great myth, it's across country, across culture, it's across peoples, and so there are elements of Russalka, the Little Mermaid, the Lohengrin, you pointed out aspects of Wagner, and I think that the issue of alienness, wanting to be humanized, and then the instinct, the love instinct of the lover trying to investigate the alienness of their love, then precipitates disaster. It's a well-known story.
It's the snake goddess who wants to be human, experience love. She gets married, she has a husband, and he doesn't know. It just seems to be too good to be true, I guess, right?
Well, it's very interesting you should say that, Chris, because in fact, you know, there are two equal protagonists in this opera. The snake, who is a demon as well, and the abbot, who represents the social order, the structured order. And they both have meditated for 1,000 years, and so they are very larger than life, larger than human, extremely powerful beings. And they butt head to head. Now, in the middle of this, of course, is the lover, the husband. He is immortal, he is human, and he is a person that doesn't have that godlike power. He's the one, though, who is the person that tips the balance. So, as with all things human, you know, we've got the issue of chance, of destiny, of choice, all involved.
There's also another kind of cross-cultural challenge here, is that you want to make this opera intelligible both to the East and to the West, but you don't want to end up with a stereotype of one or the other. How do you do that?
Chris, you have put your finger, I think, on the biggest creative challenge, both as a librettist and also for the composer Zhou Long. We have had many discussions about that because it is so easy to pander to an audience by giving them what they expect of Chinese culture or Chinese stereotypes. And the use of language, for instance, is very important. There are a lot of stereotypical uses of, you know, yin and yang, of that kind of almost pigeon speak, the elements of Beijing opera, Chinese opera that sometimes has been overused or transplanted in a inorganic way. And those are all challenges that we have thought about a lot, and we're still trying to solve. We want an opera that is truly representative of the American Chinese experience, which is truly a retransformation through the American lens of a Chinese myth.
So the plans are for a premiere in Boston in 2010?
That's correct. In February of 2010, Opera Boston will present the world premiere at the Cutler Majestic, and then it will travel to Beijing in October of 2010, and we are also planning to bring it to Shanghai, and then finally home to Hangzhou, which is the ancient locale of this myth.
By the way, what do you think might be the impact of this on the Asian American community here? I know you were talking about the way this story addresses their experience, but as far as involving them in performances or maybe in other kinds of cross-cultural opportunities, do you see something happening?
Absolutely, Chris. We are reaching out to the many diverse Asian American groups, and we are also begun a dialogue with the mayor's office. And what we plan to do is to take aspects of the opera. For instance, the husband is a herbalist. So we would like to get somebody who is an expert in herbal medicine go into the schools and talk about the opera, talk about what Chinese herbal medicine is all about, how that compares to Western medicine, maybe have a show and tell or a demonstration of traditional Chinese instruments which will be incorporated in the Western orchestra and how that is similar to or different from the Western counterpart. There are also a lot of issues around philosophy. For instance, the underlying philosophy of the opera is based on Buddhism, so we would try to create a comparative religion cause between, comparing Buddhism to, say, Christianity or Islam, the other great religions of the world. And so that's what we're trying to do.
All right, well, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Chris.
Cerise Lim Jacobs. And we should mention you can also follow news on our website. That's bnnonline.org. That's our report for tonight. I'm Chris Lovett. Thanks for being with us.
Neighborhood Network News on BNN TV is made possible in part by a grant from the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority.